Are you curious about how adjusting your pricing can skyrocket your business success? In today's episode, we tackle the complex world of pricing strategies and business resilience. Many entrepreneurs struggle with finding the right price point, maintaining perceived value, and handling rapid success without burning out. Joining us today to shed light on these issues is Jenny Baker, an expert in organic marketing and high-ticket sales psychology. Jenny has transitioned from traditional tactics into an automated business model driven by data and buyer behavior. Jenny saw her program participants soar from 17 to more than 60 by simply tweaking her pricing, resulting in a $44,000 cash month. She'll share her formula for balancing personal health and business demands, especially vital while managing a chronic illness and neurodivergence. In this episode, you'll discover actionable strategies on effective pricing, automation, and building a life-proof business. Expect to leave with real-world insights and fresh perspectives on creating a sustainable, successful business tailored to your unique needs. And today is going to be a fun and interesting episode because you got two ADHD people on a podcast episode. Let's see how many squirrels we can get to dance. Hi, Jenny. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
As you can tell, we were already talking behind the scenes. It's like, I love when my guests come prepared and ask the right questions. He's like, I'm ADHD. I can go. I'm like, that's my job. You just be here, be your best self, and talk with me about high-ticketing pricing psychology. Now, guys, we are going to go down probably a couple of fun rabbit holes when it comes to business. But why I wanted to have Jenny on, and specifically, she offers a lot. There is a lot of freebies for you at the end, guys, so stick around. You'll get the link. But one of the things I wanted to focus on is that high-ticket pricing psychology, because I know a lot of my community, a lot of my audience are in that scaling phase and in that imposter syndrome phase of, am I allowed to charge that much? And I'm like, even though I'm struggling myself too, it's easier to see other people do the things, right? And I'm like, yeah, you are delivering the value. Having said that, first of all, welcome again, Jenny. It's so much fun having you here. Tell me about how you got into that psychology piece, that pricing piece. How did you get here?
Oh, it's such a weird story, so I'll try to keep it succinct for you. But I started my business really focused on organic marketing. That's always been kind of my passion. It was what my career was when I was still working in corporate. And as I kind of moved into the online space, I started falling in love with data and numbers. And that is really where I make a lot of my business decisions. I tend to have a more masculine side of my brain, and that really comes through in the way I teach marketing and in the way I make changes and pivot in my business. And one of my favorite things to do as somebody who is a high ticket copy optimization expert from data and somebody who also is focused on selling high ticket offers, 4-figure, multi-4-figure, 5-figure, and multi-5-figure offers on pure automation through backend funnels and systems. One of the things that allows me to do that is the data.
Like anybody that's only listening and not watching the podcast right now, you are not seeing me throwing hearts at Jenny. Did you hear what she just said? She just used my love language. Automation and systems. Yes, you can deliver high ticket offers on automations and systems. Did you hear this, guys? Just saying. Just putting a big red flashlight on this.
Yup. And that is really where the pricing psychology came in. Because once I saw the data and I started understanding and studying human behavior and buyer behavior and understanding how different elements of pricing psychology and other types of what makes somebody logically go through a back end funnel and feel confident, safe, and trusting enough to spend high ticket amounts without necessarily seeing me on a live stream or joining a 5-day challenge or doing a traditional live launch. Those are all things that I ended up putting in place. And they actually are all things I put in place as ways that my brain works from a neurodivergent standpoint, but also because I have a stage 4 chronic illness. And so my capacity is slightly lower for live events. And I'm not able to hold the energy for 15 bajillion hours on a live stream for a multi-day thing. And so I had to actually build a business model that made sense for the various things that I was dealing with in my health. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs push through that and build and try to do strategies that the industry asks for because that's what they're told to do. And instead, I built a business model that gave me back my personal time and my health and really the self-care that I needed to take care of myself and my body, and also to make sure that my clients were never in 100 million years did I ever drop the ball on them. And that meant that I had to shift my strategy away from focusing on all these other things that I was taught to automating those things so that 100% of my capacity could go to my paying clients. And pricing psychology is a big piece in being able to do that. Because once you understand why people buy, how people buy, and what appeals to people buying and creates trust and safety, I could step back from a lot of the traditional ways of selling and allow my work to speak for itself and my offers to speak for themselves and my content to speak for itself.
I am getting goosebumps over here right now. So one of the things you might not know is I literally just launched my Automate to Dominate. So you are speaking to literally my core value right here. And there's a couple of things I want to peel away, but literally just that point of build your goddamn business around you, or you could have just gotten a goddamn job.
Yes.
We are not
Literally
creating 24/7 hour jobs here, people. We build a business to get the freedom to do the things we want to do. I don't care what your life looks like. I don't care what your core values are. I don't care the core reasons for how you want to structure your day. I just care about you having the freedom to structure your day and your life how you want to. So freaking stop listening to everybody that tells you this is how it has to be done. Okay, my rant is done now here.
I'm seriously so it really is how I have felt for years. And I think I tried to fit myself into the entrepreneurship box a very particular way. And it wasn't, I mean, it worked-ish, but it wasn't sustainable. And I got diagnosed later in life, and my stage 4 chronic illness was diagnosed in the last year. And, obviously I had been advocating for myself in the medical field for years, and I kept getting misdiagnosed. And so it wasn't like it just like randomly popped up. It's been here for a while, but I'm finally getting, on the right path. But I had been making this business model not knowing these diagnoses or what was going on with me, because I was starting to notice different things in my body and what I was able to have capacity for and what I wasn't. And one of the things that I really pushed in my first couple of years was just this constant 5-day live stream event. And I love live launching, but I actually completely automated my launches now. My launches on the front end and the back end are automated. I don't see many people doing that. But it's a signature strategy I've really created to do a very particular way to have very high conversion numbers above industry standard. And going back to the pricing psychology thing, I am really good at looking at the data to determine how to price something to make it a no-brainer in somebody's mind, for the right person, of course. Not for everybody, but for the right person who's ready to make that offer feel very safe and secure to purchase, even at whatever income level or whatever price level I choose to put it at. So I have a couple really fun stories, even just from 2023, where I ran an experiment where I had 2 offers. And I was selling one of the offers for about $1,200. I had found that was like, in my audience, a sweet spot number was this like $1,200 mark. That was what they were buying the most of. And with that $1,200, I had a couple bonuses in there. And so what I did is I had a moment where I was losing capacity. So I was like, let's play a game with pricing psychology. So I lowered the cost of the program by a couple $100s. Now watch every coach and mentor in the industry go, what?
Oh God. Don't ever discount your rates. Just add bonuses to it. I'm like, people, we even need to, the only way we can make a decision is by collecting fucking data.
Correct. Absolutely. I feel the exact same way. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a huge risk and I'm going to lower the price of the program. But to compensate for that, I'm going to take off a bonus because that's where the capacity comes in, right? So I was like, okay, going through some flare-ups, so I'm going to change a little bit of the offer. I thought it would be like a temporary thing. And then I'd add the bonus back in if it didn't work the next month and raise the price again. I sold, now don't quote me perfectly on this, but I had sold the offer the prior year. I'd started it in like spring, so it wasn't a full year of selling the program. I think I had 17 people inside it. Now, that's a mixture of one-to-one clients and people who purchased it directly, which, okay, meh. So I knew I needed a little bit more brand awareness around it. So I lowered the price on it slightly, took the bonus off that I thought everyone was buying for, and relaunched it. By the end of the year, I had like 60-something people in the group. It exploded. It was my highest best-selling program. I took $200 off.
$200 off. You still have you have a similar perceived value because you also took one of the bonuses off. So it's not just like you just dumped the price down.
Right. I made it make sense logically to the buyer why the price would decrease. And because I dropped the price slightly, it flew off the shelves. So I did another experiment. I was like, okay, well, let me do it to this other offer. I created this experiment. The data is exploding. Maybe my other offer could use a price decrease. So I lowered that one by $300. And it flopped. Totally flopped. I was like, what? What? How is that possible?
Welcome. Just because it works on one side doesn't mean it's going to work on the other side.
It doesn't work. So I really thought about why it wasn't working. And I raised the price back up. And I had a 5-figure launch. So here's why. When you understand pricing psychology and you understand buyer psychology, there is perceived value around certain things. What I didn't understand was that the first program, well, I did understand it, but I was playing around and taking risks and running data, and I'm allowing
perceptions can be different. There are different programs, there are different offers, there are different price points, there are different bonuses. There is so much that feeds into a perceived value. The only thing you can do is test and see what happens.
Correct. And I'm willing to fail. I look at all of my experiments. A lot of my clients aren't willing to make. It's scary to see a potential like, oh, if I change this and I see a drop in income and I want that income, especially in the business world where a lot of people use that income that they make to then market to make more income. It's scary to do experiments that would then make something change or decrease. I'm not afraid of those things. I'm willing to like screw everything up just to get data. And then I teach that to my clients so they don't have to make those mistakes or that they don't have to see that income dip. That's like why I love doing it. I'm always going to lead and I'm going to run the data first. So I was like, okay, well, it flops. Now it goes back up. So here was the difference. The first offer was designed for an entry-level newbie.
Which means they are going to be more focused on the pricing. They potentially don't have the budget to do something.
Correct. And even though I had 6-figure earners in that program, it appealed psychologically to a newbie person, where the second program was a more advanced offer. So the perceived value needed to be higher.
And the perceived value is higher by having a higher price already.
Correct.
So if you sell it cheaper, they are like, I'm not going to get anything out of this.
Correct.
I know I got to invest something.
Correct. Exactly. And that's what I figured out. So I ran the data. So I looked at psychology. I looked logically of why these decisions were made. And then the next year, 2024, I released offers based on that information that I made. I put those offers on funnels and had a $44,000 cash month. within like a few months of the funnels being put up and stabilized. So, and those upgrades were leading into multi-5-figure offers as well, which we're also selling on the back end through automation. So, I took a very low ticket offer, few $100s, and I turned it into $30,000 in cash within about 3 weeks.
And that's the joy of data. That's the joy of data, where it's like, now my brain is also going, because again, a lot of this conversation is also happening behind the scenes right now. I love how my podcast guests always align with what's happening and the conversation happening in my business and my community. Universe, there's a reason. Yep, always happens for a reason. And it's like, that's where I often get mad at coaches that are like, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm like, I'm sorry. First of all, niching down, yes, it made your message potentially easier, but the problem is you are not getting enough data. Especially when you're starting out in your business, you need to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. You need to get data. If somebody starting out a business just does one offer to one specific target market, marketing it on one specific platform, yeah, that is easy. But you are not getting enough data. You're going to take 5 freaking years to get enough data to validate the offer and validate the language and validate the perception behind it. Welcome to another rabbit hole I'm just running down.
But it's so true. And I'll also argue, I understand the logic. Again, I'm very, very, very strategic. I understand the logic behind the focus on the one platform thing. But in the last 12 months alone, I have gotten my Facebook account disabled twice and my Instagram account disabled once. And I've had to start over from 0 followers from scratch 3 times. Now, within 4 months of my Facebook account getting disabled, and then the next month, the Instagram account got disabled. So within like less than 90 days, I lost all of my accounts. I had a $36,000 cash month 2 months later. So within 60 days. And I had to, most of the people that bought were brand new to my audience from rebuilding the account. And I did that through copy, which is another one of the things I do. But I can do that because I know what copy works and what doesn't. Now, how do I know that? Because social media will not, and relying on one platform, even that data is not enough. In my passive funnels, because I will go down another rabbit hole, in my passive funnels, when somebody purchases from me, I know their email address, right? That they purchased with, right? Okay. So I'm able to go into my email system, plug in that email address, and it pulls up all the activities that the client did before that purchase, right? I can tell, and I know the pattern of what freebies brought me the sale. I know the pattern of what automated trainings brought me the sale. I know what low ticket offers led to a nurture process to create I know all the data, but you cannot tell that from social media. You don't know what they saw. You don't know what they clicked on. You don't know what they opened. You can tell only if they comment or like something, but you can't look at the email address and then pull up all the data. So you're running blind. The best way to build your business from a psychological standpoint is to follow the data that the email system gives you. But so many people are focused on social media. I've had to rebuild my social media account how many times? If you don't collect those email addresses, that's where you lose.
It's all borrowed property. It's like one of the things you and me agree completely on, and I've pushing for the longest time, is get the goddamn email. Get the email, get them in your system. You still don't not really owe your newsletter system and all of that. Theoretically, they can take it too. Anybody can. You don't want to build this stuff by yourself. So it is what it is. We have certain issues in certain areas that we just can't do anything about it, like not getting enough data from social. But social is our mailer. It's the stuff we used to do. It's our standard advertisement to get them into our store. And by the time I shake their hand. I now can track the links I'm sending to. What are they opening up? Have tracking on your website when you are delivering things. How far are they scrolling down? Get your data off your videos. I can host my videos in my course platform. Guess why I don't do it? Because Vimeo is giving me analytics on how long are people watching the goddamn video. Where are they dropping off in my training? Where did I lose them? So you call it masculine, I call it smart. I still go by my intuition. I still listen to what feels right and what doesn't feel right. But guess what? Our gut can be wrong. Intuition can be right. Making the distinction between gut and intuition, guess what we used to do? We look at the data, and if we don't get data, how are you gonna make any educated decision? It's your perception of something that doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just a perception. Data is the only thing that allows us to make a smart decision.
I said to a client today on a private call, I said, if your launch ever flops, most people take it personally. I look at the data to see why. Why did it flop? Yeah, it's going to tell you where things went astray. And it's not a personal thing. And that's literally what I said to them. I said, it's not going to be personal. You're going to look at the data and it'll tell you what you need to optimize for next time. I will also say one of the biggest tips after losing so many accounts and getting my Facebook ads account shut down, et cetera, along with, because it goes with the profile, the best thing you can ever do to protect your business is get into the habit every 30 days of downloading your email list, because obviously you would have normally, if you were running ads, uploaded that email list as a lookalike or as a targeting thing in your ads. Thank golly, Miss Molly, I've done that for the last 6 years because I have email lists saved all the way back, and I can use that for retargeting. So when shit hits the fan, I just plug in all those email spreadsheets, and the system goes and refines my audience for me. Boom. And when you said the course hosting platform thing, that's the number one thing I preach. Do not put your programs in a course hosting platform.
And it's so easy. I'm like, I believe we have finally found our home, simply with where we want to take the company and all the things. But still, it's like nothing is ever perfect. Anybody that's been around my company for the last couple of years knows I'm the guinea pig just as much as you are. We've been through so many different platforms, so many different things, and it's like it just is. And I don't get all of the. Would it be easy to just have it on the platform? Yeah, but guess what? God forbid, if I decide to switch a tool again, or for whatever reason they decide we are done. We've had so many companies that got sold, that closed the doors, whatever it is. I would need to rebuild if that happens. My videos are in there. I have the backup. I have all of the written content that needs to be in the courses smacked up in my Google Drive. I have the course layout in my ClickUp. I can rebuild in pretty much no time because all of my assets are there. Back it up.
I did it in 2 days. It was a pain in the butt, but I rebuilt in 2 days because I had backups of everything and all the copy was saved in Google Drive. So I just rebuilt the courses in a different platform. It's the same thing with content for anybody listening. I'm not trying to scare you that your business can disappear overnight, but it has for me 3 times. So I've rebuilt it to 6 figures every time from nothing, multiple times over again, using the same strategy and the same content level of specificity that I teach, because once you know how to do the skill right, you just recreate it for every single thing you ever want to do in your life. You never, that's why, this is why I love the coaching, the mentoring, the consulting space, because if you teach a man to fish, he can eat forever, eat for life type of thing. I believe that that's what this industry allows us to do. If you learn the right skills, you will never have to worry again because the skill will last forever. And I just use the same skills to build it over from scratch. And I don't know how many times I've risen from the ashes of a burned down business, but I've had it burned down so many times. And if you're a content person like me, the best thing I've ever done is scrubbed my social media every 30 days and put that content that I wrote in real time in a backup in a Google Drive or somewhere else, so that you can repurpose that content in the future. That's goal number one. But then goal number two is you always have something to revert back to if everything goes crumbling to the ground, like it has for me a couple times. And it's very common. I see my clients all the time are like, oh my gosh, I got another note from an AI bot saying I infringed on some sort of thing. And it was my own content. It's wrong all the time, and it can happen for any reason, and you didn't necessarily do anything wrong. So you just have to be prepared. This is also why I have built a backup funnel strategy, because it does not rely on social media. What social media is for is traffic. And I can rebuild traffic anywhere. I can do that through summits. I can do that through bundles. I can do that through ads. I can do that through Pinterest. I mean, I could build traffic in a million different places. It doesn't rely on one particular platform or a bajillion followers, which, I keep having to rebuild from scratch. So it actually is quite funny that when you look at my social media, it's quite pathetic. It really is, because I've had to build so many times from zero that there's like no followers. But then I have no followers and I have $40,000 months, because it's not reliant on the front end marketing. And I built that strategically because it was meant for automation so that I could go live my life.
And that is exactly one of the reasons we create content the other way around. So we literally have a content database in our ClickUp, because that's where I work with my team. That's where the social copy is and everything. And I literally can go back with... If Evie doesn't get on camera, it's like, cool, what do we have that fits into our content strategy this month? Let's bring it out, because guess what? The people that are going to see it this month probably didn't see it 3 months ago.
Exactly. And this is just, like you said, smarter business. We as an industry, we tend to be like, oh my gosh, I have to write 3 posts a day, or I have to post a reel a day on Instagram. You can, and I'm not saying it's not wrong, or it's wrong, or that you won't get growth from that, or that it's not a strategy you can use. But understand that not every human has the ability to do that based on various illnesses or whatever. And that can't work for me. So I've built an easier way that works for me. And it means I repurpose a lot, and nobody's ever complained.
And the thing is, what I always say is, it's all processes. All of these things work. The automated funnels, the live launches, the passive launches, the organic social media, the paid social media, all of these processes work. It's been proven. You're running your business how you want to run your business. Other people run their business how they want to run their business. It is proven that these processes are working. So stop letting people tell you that this one single process in this one single way is the way to do. What do you want to do with your life? Do you want a live launch? Then go freaking live launch.
Yes. And I always look at things as like, there are pros and cons to every single decision that you make in business and every single strategy. And you have to be the person that, one, matches your personality to it, but then decides what pros and cons you're willing to work with. If you have the energetic capacity and your nervous system doesn't get burned out at the end of 5 days of live launching, you're the perfect person for that. And I'm so excited for your audience for having that. But if your audience is still willing to buy on automation and you don't have to do that strategy, now there's pros and cons to everything. So you have to be able to look at it very subjectively of like, okay, these are the cons of doing it this way. These are the pros of doing it this way. And here's where my personality best fits. Here's where my lifestyle choices best fit. Here's where my energetic capacity best fits. Here's where my situation in life best fits. And some days, like I was raring to go with the live launch strategy for so many years. And then I ended up catapulting from $60,000 to $230,000 in a year. And I exploded, and I was overwhelmed because it was like and I don't know if people talk about that much, but like when you really get successful, you get successful really, really fast. And like all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I did not plan for this. I have kind of been sitting on my ass for the last a year, 6 months, whatever, kind of working with the occasional client. And now all of a sudden I'm fully booked out, and the nervous system shot a lot of people don't talk about that.
And there is a growth that needs to happen too, because now suddenly your business, your delivery, you showing up is a complete different than what it used to be. It's like what got us to 200K is not what's going to get us to 500K, is not what's going to get us to 1 million. You suddenly also need to upgrade and up level and do your personal growth and deal with it. Next to your energy level, your ability to show up, your potential health, all of the things. There's a lot happening behind the scenes when you go from 200K to past 500.
Right. It really does. And all the strategy, I remember coaches saying that in the beginning, like, oh, well, what got you to 50K won't get you to 100K, or what got you to 100K won't take you to 200K. And it's all in the scalability of it. And I got to that point and I'm like, the live launching thing, like, how am I supposed to fit this in? But I can't let the income, like I'm riding the wave of the income, but also like I have all these clients, like, whoa. And I actually started putting in automation at the very, very beginning of my business, but it wasn't until that moment that I would, like, right before that moment, I was like, whoa, I'm starting to, like, I didn't have a 10K month. I went from 4K to 15K to 20K in a span of like 60 to 90 days. And I was like, oh my God. And then it never went down. It was staying at that level. And I think I had like 6 months or 5 months straight of $20,000 plus cash months. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I had to catch up. And so automation started. But then when you put yourself in that position, I was like, no, automation is required in my world. This is how I'm going to maintain this. And from that point forward, I just did a bunch of experiments to figure out how to even streamline more. And then thankfully, right before my chronic illness got diagnosed, or my first flare up that really, really, really was like, okay, we really need to go get somebody to look at this now. Like, nobody can ignore me anymore. The month before that happened, I had just put in the current passive funnel strategy that I now teach. And thank goodness I did, because I made $81,000 in cash sales in the 4 months I was bedridden during the chronic flare up and couldn't work. Thank gosh I did.
That is such an amazing example of how positively this can happen, because I've seen it often enough, and me included. I've done this in the past too. I went from barely making it to those 25K month, that 25K month. And I ended up self-sabotaging myself. And I fell back down, which often happens too. So it's nice to see that there is people out there that can manage and keep riding the wave and keep going with it. But more often than not, we end up completely overwhelmed, drained, and how the fuck can I do this? And then end up self-sabotaging ourselves and being back, or even worse, where we started. So I am so happy for you, because I've seen a lot of other people too that are finally getting their diagnostics. They are going through their personal growth phase of, okay, medication, figuring out how can we stabilize this, whatever specifically it is in that health journey. And I've seen enough people that had to let their business go in that situation because they were completely out of the business.
Yep. It's really, really sad. And it breaks my heart, because I've said, and I've made this statement many times, if I had followed any other strategy the coach has taught me, I would not be in business today, because that illness has completely taken me like a step back in my business. And if it wasn't for the automation in place, I don't know how I would have managed it in the flare-ups. I'm not like that 24/7, but in the flare-up moments. But if the flare-ups last,
you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. And you could get really behind in those few weeks because you have to take off from it. So I had already had this system in place. And I'm really proud to say that since I put this system in place, again, it's fully backed in pricing psychology, sales psychology, buyer psychology. Like there's a reason I built it that way based on data. But I put that in May of 2023. And between May of 2023 and August of 2024, I brought in $250,000 in cash sales through that automated business model, all while dealing with a stage 4 chronic illness, having surgeries. Actually, the month I had surgery was a $44,000 month. I've moved across states in that period of time. Like I call it my life proof strategy. Shit can hit the fan. and my business is life proof. And that's actually one of the programs I sell. It's part of like my branding. But I had to build a business that was life proof because my life is not life proof. Lifes me a lot. But my number one priority is my private clients, and I will not drop the ball there. And so what did I have to do in my business model to make sure I had 100% capacity toward making sure my paying clients were always taken care of? And that just meant I had to shift how I did business. It's not right or wrong. It's not for every single person, but it really worked for me as a neurodivergent person. And it really worked for me as somebody dealing with a stage 4 chronic pain illness. And I'm really proud of what I've been able to accomplish with all of those factors. And for anybody that resonates with that, obviously, like, I feel for you completely. And I also understand how maybe some of the strategies that you have been taught didn't work or don't feel like they're working or don't feel aligned. And that's where you and I can come in with a different angle of like, here's a different structure that might be a better fit. And that's cool.
And for everybody that wants to dig deeper, that wants to figure out more how to do all the things, dive into the high ticket pricing psychology, the breakdowns you have, the launches. I know you have a lot of resources for my audience. Tell them, how can they find you?
You can come hanging out with me on my current social media platforms, however long they last.
As long as we got it. And with that, thank you so much, Jenny, for joining me on today's episode of Boss Your Business. As always, you can find all of her links down below, including the new social media links. Let's see how long they are going to be up. And don't forget to comment and like. I want to see you again in the next episode. Bye, everybody.